Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Mastering Life Shorts. Today we're going to be talking about the $500 million industry that is the personality industry. But before we go there, let's look at something a little bit more esoteric. So I have lots of friends who tell me that they believe in astrology, and I always ask them the same question: can you work out my star sign? The funny thing is, they never can. And I've literally had conversations where people have given me three different star signs, got on it on the fourth one, and then decided that there was some reason that, the moon was rising in the other two, and that's why they thought, and they add in all sorts of claptrap. Now, what's going on? So a couple of days ago, I picked up my horoscope, and to be quite honest, I can't remember which one of these is my horoscope. Let's read this. Just because your vivid idea of what you want in life doesn't mean that you're going to get it any sooner than if you're totally clueless. What's going on in these is there's lots of sentences and phrases that would that could refer to anyone. So almost everyone has a vivid idea of what they want in life. If you're wondering when the rest of your life is going to begin, almost everyone thinks this, you need to relax. You need to see that every moment is your life. So stop focusing so much on what you want and savor what you have. There is a lot to be grateful for. Everyone has that. And you'll have a wonderful day if you start making a list of all those things. Be happy. It's basically telling you to do a gratitude exercise, which is a really good thing, but there's nothing there that says that you're a Libra or a Capricorn. It applies to everyone. Here, you can make huge strides forward today if you let your ambition take over. Absolutely, almost always the case. You can lead to a success you deserved in a long time, everyone. But you're going to have to swallow your pride in order to follow it. When you show you can be a team player and work for the greater good, those in power take notice and they will be impressed by your selflessness. Don't be surprised if someday, quite soon, they start asking you to step up and take on bigger responsibilities. So there's another thing that takes place here, and that is the confirmation bias effect. So if someone believed in astrology and they read this, and then a few weeks' time, they actually were given more responsibilities, they think, oh yeah, I remember I was the star sign suggested that. If they don't, they're never going to think back and think, oh, well, it's about time. If it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. They were lying. You always remember the positive things. What's this? Surely astrology and personality tests have very, very different things. Well, actually underlying both is something called the Barnum effect. So the Barnum effect is a psychological phenomenon when individuals believe that the personality descriptions apply to them more than to other people, despite the fact that this description is actually filled with information that applies to everyone. And this is one of the problems with personality tests in the world today, is a lot of them are just using the Barnum effect to get there. Now, again, we're going to get onto personality tests, but I'll take one slight move away from that and ask you if you are a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learner. Now, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, huge amounts of money was spent in schools across the world on training teachers into VAK, different modalities of teaching, and teaching students, you are a visual learner, you're an auditory learner. And there may be some people listening to this who think, oh, well, I know I'm a visual learner. No, you're not. No one is. More and more studies have shown that this is complete claptrap as well. What you do is you teach people in different ways, and then you test the recall, and it always shows that there is no difference. Again, there's a confirmation bias thing here. So if, for example, you say, I'm an auditory learner, and you then listen to an audiobook and you remember something from that audiobook, then you will confirm your belief that you are an auditory learner. But at the same time, you'll have forgotten the fact that you learned lots and lots of things from books. Anyone sitting out there now thinking, no, that's I'm definitely an auditory learner, I'm definitely a visual learner. How did you learn to drive? Are you telling me you looked at a book or someone told you how to learn to drive? No, absolutely not. You use your kinesthetic ability to learn to drive. So All of this was complete rubbish. Now, it did some good and it made teachers think about different modalities of teaching, but actually it spent a lot of time pushing people, spending a lot of money and time developing things that weren't necessary. But worse than that is it puts limits on what students thought they were capable of, because some students would then think that they were auditory and kinesthetic learners and then say, oh, well, I can't possibly learn anything that I have to read a book for because I'm not a visual learner, and therefore they gave up or they blamed things. So there is a negative side to these. And basically what I'm telling you for the rest of this webinar is it doesn't matter what a particular test at a particular time in your life in the office says, don't use it to limit yourself. Now, give you an example. So the most widely used personality test is the Myers Briggs personality test. And it has 4 different aspects, but the first one is probably the easiest to use. And I'm going to use that as an example for the rest of the webinar. And that's, are you an extrovert or an introvert? Now, am I an extrovert or an introvert? Well, I can tell you that I love spending time on my own in a flat or in my own up a mountain or with very few people, being just quiet and still. And I also like standing in front of groups of people and giving presentations. I went to a party this weekend and socially distanced and was with lots of people around and talking to lots of people. But today I want to be really quiet. So am I an extrovert or an introvert? Aha, you say. Well, that's clear that you're neither. You're an ambivert. But this is the problem. As soon as you have something in between, you think to yourself, well, what's actually going on here? Is there an extrovert or an introvert, or is it something else? Well, if there was such a thing as everyone being an extrovert or everyone being an introvert, then if you plotted a graph where you had the number of people against extroversion, then according to Myers Briggs, the world should look like this: a bimodal distribution, where you have some people who are introverted, some people are extroverted, very few people in the middle. In actual fact, it looks like this. It's a normal distribution. And almost all of the patterns in these tests, when you actually do the tests on people, they are there. What they do in the test is they make people choose between the two. So this isn't actually from a Myers-Briggs test, but it plays the same game. I'm a very social person. You have to think, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Now, with this one, I happened to have done a Myers-Briggs test years back, and I came out as ENTP, so that's extroverted. And I then read the descriptions that went with ENTP, and I thought, oh, I rather like that. I like the fact that lots of ENTPs become CEOs of companies, so I'm going to go with that. And I remembered that I was extroverted, I'd labeled myself that, and then I started to choose the ones that said that I was extroverted and downgrade the ones that said I was introverted. And that you do that. And it's been found that if the same tester tests a person twice on Myers-Briggs and other personality tests, they will come up with the same answer. However, if you have 2 different testers where they're not expecting the same answer, they actually come up with very different answers. So that it's not a repeatable test. The other thing that I found with Myers-Briggs and other tests is they are used to put people into boxes. Now, think about yourself. I'm sure in different circumstances, you want to have different aspects to your life. So if we're taking extroversion and introversion, if you go to a party or if you're giving a presentation, then you want to be extroverted. If you want to read a book or just do some yoga, you want to be introverted. And I'm sure everyone is capable of both. The problem comes when people are then labeled or label themselves worse and say, oh no, I'm introverted. I can't possibly give a presentation. I'm introverted. How could I possibly become an actor? Or worse, you have people who say, right, I use lots of information to make a decision. So therefore, I'm going to spent hours and hours and hours collating information in order to make sure that I'm playing the game that I need to play. Now, question: why do people in 12-step programs label themselves as sober? The point is that if you label yourself as something, you act in that way. So as someone in a 12-step program will label themselves as sober and say, I am sober, therefore my personality, my being won't drink or partake of drugs. So the problem with these personality tests is you label yourself and then you start to act in that way. But maybe we don't want to. And worse, if you just happen to have a really party-filled weekend, and then you went into the office and you were given a personality test, and you came up because all your local recent examples were extroverted. You did this, then maybe you were labeled as extroverted, and you weren't given any opportunities that actually needed an introverted person. So, how do you turn all of this around? Well, strange question at this point. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? Most people will say they are not the same person they were 10 years ago. If you think back over all the things that you've learned and all the growing you've done in the last 10 years, then you're probably very different. Almost everyone agrees with that they're not the same person. Will you be the same person you are now in 10 years' time? Now, most people, if they were to say, am I closer to my 10 year ago or my 10 year in the future self? They will say, I'm closer to the 10 year in the future self. I'm closer to the finished state. This is something called the end of history illusion. The end of history illusion is that you've done all the growing you need to do, and now it's just business as usual. And the fact is, you're going to be someone different in 10 years' time. So the question is, who do you need to say you are to be the person you want to be in 10 years' time? So stuff all of these personality tests that tell you what you are now. Think about who you want to be then, and then think about the opportunities you need to give yourself in order to get to that place. So if so far you've labeled yourself as introverted or not open to new opportunities or anything like that, then maybe you want to be someone who's extroverted, or you want to be someone who takes new opportunities. Then you need to start moving towards that person. So in order to start this process, on the worksheet for today, englishleathermaster.com/mastering-life-shorts, download that worksheet with the password be yourself, no space, capital B, capital Y. The first thing you do in that worksheet is you'll look at who you have been and look at your personality change over time. Then you ask yourself two questions. First, what is the gift from the you that you are today that you will give the future you? So you think about who you want to be in the future and you give them a gift. In exactly the same way that if I wanted to plant a tree that was going to grow fruit, now I have to give it the gift of fertilizer and water and time. What do you need to give the future you? So maybe it is that you have to give the future you the gift of opportunities, or the gift of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, or the gift of time to grow something, or to do some learning, for example. Or even the gift of getting some coaching to push yourself forwards in life. What do you expect from the future you as return on investment? So when I get to future me, I expect to be stronger or more confident or quieter or more outgoing or more able to grasp life and take more opportunities and risks, or less risk taking. And therefore I will be better at life. So it takes some time to get your head around this. So download the worksheet and really think about the fact that your personality tests are likely to just be another game of Guess Who, where you're trying to split people into groups and then just label the other groups in different ways, and they're not really very useful. What's really useful is the work you do on yourself, on who you want to be and how you want to change your personality for the future. Next week, we're getting probably the biggest question of all: what is your purpose? Why in life? I'm really looking forward to that. So unless there's any questions, I really look forward to speaking to you next week. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today.